Hi everybody and welcome to today's lesson. Normally this lesson is através de Português, but it takes me 3 hours to it takes me 3 hours to plan and to write my script in Portuguese. So today I decided again, like last week, to give the lesson today in English and to focus on the topic of Brazil. So today we look at a newspaper article from CNN in relation to Brazil, and we should be able to learn a lot of vocabulary and a lot of expressions in relation to this article. So welcome, thank you for watching live and thank you for watching recorded, and I hope that you will enjoy this lesson and I hope that you will benefit from this lesson as well. If you have a question, if you have a comment, please leave your question, please leave your comment in the Facebook chat, and I will be able to answer your question at the end of the lesson, and I will be able to respond to your question as well. So subtitles are available also, so if you want to select the subtitle option, you can understand exactly what I am saying during this lesson, because I probably will try to speak a little quicker and try to speak very fast. So I suggest maybe that you select the subtitles option to give you an assistance and to give you an aid as well. Social media, here are all the channels on social media and the platforms if you want to follow me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest and WhatsApp as well. So you're very welcome to follow me on all the social media channels, and it will be fantastic for you to connect and for me for you to connect there as well. Everything is the same as last week in relation to my schedule. This is my timetable, my plan. And you can see we are here on Tuesday, and I have 18 different lessons this week, which is a massive amount of lessons. It's a huge workload, and I hope that you will enjoy some of the lessons in particular. So hopefully you can connect to some of them. The time, in fact, I have started a little earlier today again, and hopefully this does not disturb you or this does not affect your routine, but I'm starting a little early today. Everything is free, everything is for the public. This is my project at the moment. I am giving free lessons on Facebook Live to the public since the pandemic. So my project is to try and teach online for free, and I think it's a very good idea. I think it's a very good project, and hopefully you will benefit from this project. If you want to support me, if you have the ability to support me, you can make a transfer, a donation or a contribution through my bank with the bank details here, or alternatively you can select PayPal and you can make a subscription on PayPal to me, and the information is available on my Facebook post as well, and you can hopefully make that support for me, and it would be fantastic help for me as well. Also, if you are a business, if you are a company and you want to support and sponsor my project and you want to finance my project, you can sponsor me and I can put your business information here. I can promote your business, I can promote your school, and I can promote your company as well in relation to different types of industries. And basically I can put your information here and promote and speak about your business during this lesson. So that's a possibility, and hopefully that will be a good option for lots of different people. As I said, I'm going to try and speak a bit quicker today and try and speak very fluent, and it might be difficult for you to follow, but I hope that you do, but that's no problem. So let's begin with the lesson today. This is the article I have selected. The article is from the website from CNN in the United States, and specifically we are in the section of travel. So here you can see a picture of a place in Brazil, but the topic is 5 places in Brazil you might not have heard of. But the adjective here that we have is mind-blowing, and that's a very difficult adjective. So basically 5 mind-blowing places in Brazil you might not have heard of. So that is the topic. And my method, my procedure, my way to teach this lesson is to read. First, I will read the text with you to try and understand the story. but also to practice some natural pronunciation. That's the first objective. The second objective is to stop at the end of each paragraph and to try and explain the key vocabulary and the key words from each paragraph. And I think that will be a very good way, a very good method to include lots of different parts of learning English. For example, pronunciation, listening, and reading, and finally understanding vocabulary and grammar. I think it's very useful. I think it's very important. And the topic also should be very interesting as well, related to Brazil, specifically if you are Brazilian, or also if you have an interest in Brazil like myself. This article should be very interesting. Great. Okay, so let's begin. This is the title, as I said, 5 mind-blowing places in Brazil you might not have heard of. And I continue to the first paragraph. Brazil is famed for its thundering Iguaçu Falls in the south, the crescent-shaped Copacabana neighborhood with its dazzling white sand beach in Rio de Janeiro, and the towering Cristo Redentor, Christ the Redeemer, whose outstretched arms embrace that seaside city. So already we have 4 or 5 very, very important words to focus on, and I want to explain these 4 or 5 words to you now. First, this is a very, very important adjective. So the substantive in this case, the noun in this case, is the place in plural. So 5 places basically is the noun, but the adjective is mind-blowing, and this is very fluent, very, very fluent vocabulary. The verb is to blow. And of course, in English, we have a lot of different contexts with the verb to blow. We have many, many different contexts and uses of the verb to blow. So many. Let me give you a couple of examples. So obviously, we can use the verb to blow up, and this means to explode. That's number 1. So blow up has the significance to explode or inflate. So for example, blow up a balloon, to blow up a story. This means to inflate or to make bigger. Okay, but obviously you can blow dry your hair, and this means to the machine that uses the air very powerfully to make your hair dry. Obviously I have very little hair, so my hair will be dry very quickly, but other people have very long hair and they need to blow dry your hair. We have an expression in English, we say a blow in, and a blow in is a person who has only arrived, a person who has just entered, just arrived to your company, to your group. This person is a blow in, because the possibility is they might blow out, as in come and go, visit or leave. So a blow in is very typical in business, the person who is new to the company and new to the job and new to the group. This is a blow in. So therefore they should respect the more senior members of the staff or the group as well. So that person is a blow in. However, here we say mind blowing as an adjective. This means that something is spectacular, something is amazing, something is sensational, and your mind is blown. That is another way to say this. My mind is blown because the information is amazing, the story is incredible, and my mind is blown as well. Also, you can say I am blown away, and this means that you are amazed, you are overwhelmed, you are shocked because something amazing happened. So for example, that your friend buys you an amazing gift and you are shocked, you are surprised, you are blown away, you are completely overwhelmed, and that's a very important expression, to be blown away. So in this situation, the place in Brazil is amazing. So the place is so spectacular that your mind is just so excited. And it's fantastic vocabulary. It's very fluent and it's really good quality English here as well. For example, it's flexible. In the restaurant, the food was mind-blowing. The food was amazing. The food was unbelievable. And it really is used in many different situations like this. Next, we have a difficult verbal tense, a verbal structure here. Might have is the typical structure, but here's the negative, might not have. So when we use might is the modal for possibility, might, may, and could. But in the past, the structure typically is could have, might have, may have, plus the next verb. So you may not have heard, you might not have heard, you could not have heard of. That means it's a possibility. In the past, negative, you did not hear about this, because most people know the Copacabana, most people know the Christe Redentor, and they're the most famous locations. But in this article, we look at 5 spectacular places that people maybe don't know about. That's the context. First paragraph, famed for. So this is tricky because the most common word we know here is famous. You are famous, he is famous, she is famous. But also there's an adjective, famed. And I think in this case, it's an adjective. But it is a typical structure and it's exactly the same, more or less, as is famous for. So Brazil is famed for, is maybe a little more advanced, a little more creative, but basically the significance is Brazil is famous for. It's, what does this mean? It's very small, it's very simple, but it's very, very important. This is the possession. Grammatically, it is called a possessive adjective. For example, my book, your book, his book, her book. They are possessive adjectives to explain who is the owner of the object. So in this case, Brazil is not masculine, Brazil is not feminine, Brazil is its. Okay, so therefore the Iguazu Falls are the possession of Brazil. So Brazil is famous for its Iguazu Falls because Iguazu Falls is the possession of Brazil. Thunder, so the TH, pronunciation in English of the TH is like th, this, that, these, those, the. In this case, we have the word thunder. Thunder is related to the weather. When the weather is very strong and very powerful and you have a loud noise, it's a noise when you have a storm, you have thunder. So it's very powerful and very strong. So in this situation, the ing frequently is a verb, but in this situation, it's an adjective. And in fact, this morning in my grammar lesson, I explained using the ing as an adjective. And this is exactly the case. Thundering becomes an adjective to describe the Iguazu Falls. And basically, my interpretation is the Iguazu Falls are very powerful, very noisy because of the water, very impressive, very powerful. That's my interpretation of thundering. A crescent. A crescent is a shape like the moon. So in the sky you have the moon, and when the moon is like just a small shape, that's a crescent. In fact, in the street in Ireland, in I think most cities, the shape of the houses, the urbanization, is in a crescent. The resident, all the houses are in the shape of a crescent, and it's very typical in Ireland to name the street a crescent. So in this situation, the Copacabana is in the shape of a crescent. I did not know that, but that's what we hear. That's what is explained. Neighborhood, of course, this is very, very important because of the suffix hood. We have a lot of words in English with the suffix hood. Originally, independently, on its own. A hood is something you wear. For example, you have a jacket and you have a hood to protect from the rain. It's possible a sweatshirt, it's possible a jumper, but it's also possible a jacket as well. On your jacket, you have a hood. So the concept of the hood is to cover. In your car, you have the engine and you have the hood. The hood protects the engine and you lift the hood. In Ireland, sometimes we say the bonnet, but in the United States, for the car, well, in the United States, they say the hood for the car, okay? But in Ireland, we say the boot for the car, and probably in the UK as well. So this is all in the context of the car. That's number one. Number two, in the United States, the hood is the area because it's covered. It's a limit, it's a zone, and it's generally covered. So that's known also in the United States, the hood, and it's probably short, a nickname for neighborhood. Okay, so neighbor is the person, and the spelling is very important as well because in the United States it's B-O-R, but in Ireland and maybe in the UK it's B-O-U-R. So that's very important, and sometimes there's big differences. Well, not big differences. Sometimes there's differences between British and or Irish English and the United States English. So basically, in the United States, they might say N-B-O-R, but in Ireland, it's probably more flexible. But I think traditionally in England or the United Kingdom, including Scotland, etc., it would be O-U-R. And that's the same for colour. You have a different colour and colour. The pronunciation is exactly the same, in my opinion, but the spelling is a little bit different from different countries. So in this situation, we see neighborhood. So the neighbor is the person you live beside, and the neighborhood is the area. It's the area covered in that particular area of all the neighbors. So my point is we have other words with the suffix hood. For example, motherhood, parenthood, childhood. And that basically means all the years that you are a mother is motherhood. Childhood, all the years that you are a child, that is your childhood. So it's really, really important grammatical aspect with the suffix hood. Okay, let's continue. With its dazzling white sand beach in Rio de Janeiro. So this sentence is very interesting as well because again we have the possessive adjective. Remember, it's, and the possession of the beach is the possession of Brazil. Dazzling is an excellent adjective with the significance spectacular, brilliant, amazing, because the verb in English is to dazzle. And it's very similar almost to shine. Okay, so to dazzle and to shine are very similar, but it's typically related with the light and the reflection. So for example, jewelry, this is a ring and the ring is dazzling, it's shining. Okay, but originally the verb is to dazzle and the verb is to shine. We can use this in relation to performance or work. So you have a presentation today in your job, you have a presentation, and I hope you dazzle. I hope you are fantastic. I hope you perform amazingly. So it's very, very important. The verb to dazzle in this situation is the adjective. Dazzling beach means very shiny, very beautiful, incredible, spectacular white sand beach. Okay, in Rio de Janeiro. And the towering Cristo Redentor. So Cristo Redentor is the noun, it's the substantive with the article there. But the adjective here, again, it's an ing adjective and it's related to a tower. So basically the significance is the Cristo Redentor is very tall and it's like a tower. And this is possible adjective in other situations in terms of people. if one person is very tall and the other people are smaller, we can say this person is towering over the other people. And basically that means this person is like a tower in comparison to the other people, like me, who's very small. So it's very important vocabulary and very interesting adjective here, towering, in terms of the Christo Redentor, which means a very, very big, imposing monument. Okay. Whose, this is very difficult as well, very simple but very important. In Spanish, the significance is cuyos, and it's for possession when you have a question. For example, the bottle, I have a bottle and I don't know who is the person that owns this bottle. So I ask the question, whose bottle is this? It's typically when you ask a question in relation to possession and the ownership, and you don't know the identity of the person, you always say, whose bottle is this? Whose jacket is this? It's very typical for a teacher in a school. Whose jumper is this? Whose book is this? So it's a really, really important word. But here I think it's a type of relative pronoun. I think grammatically speaking, this would be a relative pronoun. But the next word is very, very important as well, and very interesting and very good quality. English, the word outstretched. Okay, so in this situation, the arms of the Christo Redeemer, as you can see in the picture, are outstretched. But what does that mean? So the verb is to stretch, and that's the first verb. When you exercise, just before you exercise, you need to stretch your muscles, stretch your body, because you will exercise very soon. So you need to stretch. And if you basically stretch out, it's just emphasis for direction. Your hands, your arms are stretched out. And that's exactly literal what is happening here. But it's an adjective. So in this situation, outstretched is the adjective of the arms of the Christo Redentor. So the arms from the Christo are outstretched, because the idea is that the Christo Redentor welcomes the people, embraces. So the verb to embrace is to welcome. Okay, so you embrace your friend. It's very similar to greet, to embrace, and to welcome. Let me write here. To greet, to embrace your friend, and similar to the verb to welcome as well. So it's actually very, very tricky as well, because we have another verb in English, to brace yourself, and this is different, but basically we use this verb to brace when you're preparing for an impact, or you're preparing for a shock or a surprise. You need to brace yourself, to prepare yourself. Maybe it originates from the braces, because typically in a outfit for clothes we have a brace, and when you have a brace, maybe in the roller coaster as well, it's like a seat belt. So it means be prepared and be ready. So to brace yourself is very important, with the significance to prepare yourself and to be ready. But embrace means to welcome, because it's probably related to your arms as well. So the verb to hug. Okay, so that's a very interesting paragraph. I repeat the paragraph for pronunciation again. And again, finally, seaside is the adjective. So the city is beside the sea. And it's a very typical adjective. For example, in Ireland, we have a lot of seaside towns, seaside villages. Basically, the villages and the towns are at the side of the sea. They're next to the sea. Okay, let's repeat this paragraph just to refresh all the vocabulary that we have seen. Brazil is famed for its thundering Iguazu Falls in the south, the crescent-shaped Copacabana neighborhood with its dazzling white sand beach in Rio de Janeiro, and the towering Cristo Redentor, Christ the Redeemer, whose outstretched arms embrace that city, but that seaside city. Very good quality English, very fluent, and I hope you understand a little better now the vocabulary and the expressions from this particular paragraph. Remember, in the title, 5 mind-blowing places in Brazil you might not have heard of. Okay, let's continue to the second paragraph. But there is so much more to this colossal South American country, which is nearly the size of the United States and the world's 5th largest country by area. So maybe people forget the size of Brazil. It's enormous. Maybe people don't forget, but it is enormous anyway. So this structure is very typical. There is much more to something. How do I explain this? It's very typical in relation to people. When you see a person, you have your idea, you have your perception about this person. Maybe the person looks very simple, the person looks very normal, and in reality, there is a lot more stories, there is a lot more information, there is a lot more detail about this person than appears. So the structure, there is much more to this person than you think. So it is a very, very common structure in English, and basically the significance is there is more than you think. So in South America, in Brazil, people think of when people think of Brazil, they think of the Cristo Redentor, they think of Copacabana, they think of Rio de Janeiro. But in reality, there is a lot more stories, there are a lot more places, there is a lot more than these typical places. Okay, adjective is very good here, very good quality adjective, colossal, and it means enormous, gigantic. Gigantic, enormous, or huge. Huge is another word that we use in this situation to say very, very big. Huge, enormous is very well known, gigantic, massive, and so on. So we have a lot of different adjectives to say very, very big. So colossal is another way to say really big, which is considered a relative pronoun. So in English we have a category grammatically known as relative pronouns, which, that, who, when. I think all of them are types of relative pronouns which substitute in the position of the subject. So this is the position of the subject before the verb, and which is substitution for Brazil. So Brazil is almost, nearly, approximately the size of the United States and also the world's 5th largest country by area. Okay, so not difficult. That paragraph is a bit easier. As you see, we have a few expressions. Much more to is very important. So much more is intensify. And again, here the word colossal for the adjective. Okay, here is Jardim de Matreia, is a magical spot within Chapada dos Veaderos National Park in central Brazil. So I have never heard about this place. So let's look at the vocabulary because spot is very important. So Jardim de Matreia is a magical spot. What is the significance of spot? What do you think? Well, the first significance is typical for the face. Typical for a teenager. When the teenager is growing, the face changes and the skin quality maybe is improving or changing, but it's very typical for a teenager to have a spot. And in English we say a pimple. So a pimple is also known as a spot. Okay, and also it's possible for anybody to have a spot, typically when you have a bad diet, maybe in a particular moment. For example, if I eat a lot of chocolate, I eat so much chocolate, the next day my skin is very bad and maybe I have a spot or a pimple. So that's the significance of a spot. Very similarly, when I'm eating and I have a shirt, for example, today my shirt is white, and if I eat soup and I spill a little soup on my shirt, I have a spot. So a spot is like a little place. So it's very important. So in this situation for the sentence, Jardim de Matreya is a magical place, like a little spot. Because when you look at the map, you identify different places. This is a good spot, a spot for a food, spot for a restaurant, spot for a coffee, like a place. And that is the significance for a spot. It is also a verb to spot, and this means to identify. So if you enter the room, you're looking for your friend, you cannot find your friend, you cannot identify your friend, and finally you spot your friend, you see your friend. So that's the significance also, to spot, to find, or to see. Very important, massively important in fluent English. The next word we have is within. Chapada dos Vaderos. So within basically is a preposition type, which means inside. So Jardim de Matreya is inside the National Park of Chapada dos Veaderos. So within is like contained, and it's in that area, within. It's typical for time as well. So I will be in Italy, or you will be on your holidays, you will be in Italy within 2 weeks. So this means inside 2 weeks of time, you will travel for your holiday. So very simple, but very powerful and very important English words. Maybe you know them already, maybe you don't know. Let's continue to the next paragraph. Okay, remember, if you have a question, if you have a comment, please leave your question in the Facebook chat. Please leave your comment in the Facebook chat. If you want to ask a question, if you have any doubts, if you want to say hello, please leave your comment here in the Facebook, and that will be very important as well. Let's continue to the next section. Brazil has 6 major continental biomes. I don't know what a biome is. I imagine it's related to the weather. From the Amazon to the Atlantic forest. Combine that with Brazil's diverse society, a large indigenous population, plus people with roots in Europe and Africa, for a country that is a fusion of culture, customs, and breathtakingly beautiful landscapes. Very interesting paragraph. The final paragraph. CNN Travel has rounded up 5 of Brazil's less traveled paths, so you can explore more of the jewels this spectacular nation has to offer. Again, we are at the introduction, so we are still at the introduction of the article, but let me just focus on the most important vocabulary. A biome, I have no idea. I don't know what it is. I imagine it's related to a climate. So Brazil has 6 different climates, maybe. But here we see the preposition from. And the preposition from is very typically associated, almost necessary, with the other preposition to. From and to. So for example, I travel from Cork to Dublin. I travel from Belfast to Kerry. I work from 8 o'clock to 6 o'clock. From to, from to, from to. They're very complementary and they are almost necessary together most of the time. From and to. That's just something very small. Again, this is possession. The society, the diverse society, is the possession of Brazil. Brazil owns, Brazil has as possession a diverse society. Pronunciation, indigenous. It's probably related to the Latin word, well, in Spanish you say gente, and gente means people. Also we say gender, so gender is related to people. So indigenous probably is related to people, and indigenous is related to people who are considered from a particular place. So it's just it's an important word for pronunciation, and you see this word very frequently in English. So a large indigenous population, plus add also people with roots. Massively important word, roots in Europe and Africa. What is a root? A root is typical for a vegetable. You have a vegetable and you have the root. The root is the bottom of the vegetable that starts to grow. Another example for my hair. Now my hair is very short, but the root of my hair is at the base. At the bottom of my hair is the root. I think a plant or a flower has the root. So imagine the tree, the big tree. The tree has a root. It's the most important part maybe of the tree that's planted in the ground. So it's very typical. And also with your family, you have family roots. It's the history of your family. It's an incredibly flexible word. And we also say the root of the problem, which means the base of the problem, the origin of the problem. What is the origin of the problem? What is the root of the problem? We have a phrasal verb to root out, means to remove, to find, locate, and remove, to root out. To uproot is very typical as well, when a family, generally a big family together, move everything and move to a different location. So you take all your roots, your families, your kids, your children, your house, your possessions, you take everything and you go. That's the significance to uproot. So it's a very important word, but in this situation it's related to the family history, the family connections, the roots in Europe and Africa. A fusion is a connection. If you have a fusion, it's a connection, a combination. The verb in English is to fuse together. To fuse is to combine together as well. A custom is like a habit, something you are used to doing, something that you do regularly. It's a custom. So in Ireland, we have different customs, we have different traditions, so it's a type of tradition. However, in a second significance, it's very different. A custom is a tax. So you will see in the airport, when you travel through customs, this is the area in the airport that you need to maybe pay for the items that you were bringing into the country. So a custom is like a tradition, number one, but number two, it's like a tax. And that's massively important. In fact, in Ireland, in Dublin, we have a big building, and the name of the building beside the river is the Customs House, because the ships used to travel on the Liffey River and stop and need to pay for the products that they bring in and the products that they take out. It's a tax. So that's the second significance of a custom. The first significance is a tradition. Next, we have a landscape, is something that you see, but obviously the adjective is beautiful. It's a beautiful landscape, very attractive, gorgeous, spectacular. The previous word we saw, what was the previous word for spectacular? Maybe I remember, sorry, dazzling. So maybe dazzling could be a synonym for beautiful, dazzling landscape. However, the key word here, definitely the key word, is breathtakingly. So it's very important. So I have a lot of things I want to explain about this word, because a noun is a breath and the verb is different. The verb has the pronunciation to breathe. So the pronunciation is very different. The verb is to breathe, like respiration. The verb to respire, to breathe. Of course, respire is possible in English, but breathe is more typical. Respire is more typical in Spanish and maybe Portuguese, maybe Italian. But in English, the verb is to breathe. But the noun, the pronunciation of the noun is a breath. And in English, we can say, I am breathless. And this is typically used after exercise. I have no breath. I cannot breathe because I'm exercising a lot, so I am breathless. I have nothing to say because the situation was amazing, and now I have no comment to make or no words to say. Now, we have another expression, to take my breath away. Okay, so if you take my breath away, it's because I am amazed, I am surprised, I am shocked because of something. So, wow, it takes my breath away. Therefore, very easily, the adjective is breathtaking. And it's possible to say many things are breathtaking. The performance in sport was breathtaking. People were amazed. Wow, and it takes your breath away. So that's the significance here, because the landscape is beautiful, spectacular, dazzling, gorgeous, amazing. The scenery, the landscape takes your breath away. It's spectacular, and you have no words because it's so impressive. Arguably, this is the adverb here, ly, breathtakingly, but I think it's also an adjective as well. So don't worry too much the difference between breathtaking, beautiful landscapes and breathtakingly. Normally, the ly is the adverb and you need a verb, but in this situation, I think it could be the adjective. But as I said, don't worry too much about that. Final paragraph, we have a phrasal verb, which is a little difficult. The verb is to round up, and it's very important. So the verb is to round and up. What does it mean? The first significance is related to animals. If you are in charge or responsible of a group of animals, it's possible the animals will escape, and your job is to round the animals up and collect the animals. So to round up means to collect. Very important, very common, very fluent, many different situations. For example, your things, you are in the office and you want to collect your things. I need to round up my things. I need to collect my things. To gather is very important as well. So we have different synonyms. To collect, to gather. I want to write everything, but I hope you can understand me as well. And maybe the subtitles would help. To gather, to collect. That's the first significance. The second significance is typically with money and with figures and with numbers. Very typical with numbers. So for example, your number is 73, or your number is 74, 73 or 74, and people typically round up to the nearest 5. So the nearest 5 after 73 is maybe 70 or 75. 75. So you round up 73 to 75, and that is the significance with figures. You round up, and I don't know what's happening with my light. It's very dark and then it's very bright. Anyway, so with figures, it's important to round up, and when you go to the supermarket, it's possible that your bill, your fee, the bill, the price is 82 euro and 48 cents. So you need to round up to 82 euro 50, for example. So in this situation, the significance is the first to collect, to gather. So CNN Travel has gathered 5 of Brazil's less traveled, that's very understandable, path is like a route or a way. So therefore, as a result, you have the ability to explore more of the jewels. Pronunciation is very important because in English we say jewellery, and jewellery is the collection. I have a ring, I have a watch, I have earrings, I have a necklace. All of it is jewellery. But one diamond is a jewel. So it's very, very important vocabulary. Of course, it's well known and it's connected to jewellery. But a jewel is the one special precious stone, the precious diamond, that's a jewel. We have a lot of expressions in English. We can say a jewel in the crown. This means the best part of the amazing thing. So this is the jewel in the crown. It's the most important, valuable thing that we have. Okay, very good. So let me write that expression, a jewel in the crown. And also the other expression is to round up, is typical with 73 euro and 84 cents is rounded up to 73 euro and 85 cents. I don't know if you understand me, but that's more or less the best explanation I can give in that particular case. Okay, finally, we have the first location in Brazil. What is the first recommended place to visit in Brazil that is less common? The first place is Salvador in Bahia. Pronunciation, I don't know. I would say Bahia. So Salvador was founded in 1549 on a small peninsula that separates Todos os Santos Bay from the Atlantic Ocean. This humble colonial town became Portuguese America's first capital. The historic city is located in eastern Brazil's Bahia state. Okay, first, for the year, we typically use the preposition in. For the year in 2020, in 1918, in 1549. For the year, we typically use the preposition in. For preposition on is for the peninsula. Because the peninsula is a surface, like the land, we typically say on. It's also possible to say an island. You are on the island. So for prepositions, on is typical for a surface, such as peninsula, such as the land, such as the island as well. So Salvador was founded in 1549 on a small peninsula. That, and this is the relative pronoun again. If you remember the grammatical category, the relative pronoun, which, that, the verb is to separate. So the peninsula, Salvador, separates Todos os Santos Bay from the Atlantic Ocean. Normally, we have from and to, but in this case, from is connected with the verb separate, because it's very, very typical to separate from. And that's the reason we have this preposition here. Humble, adjective. In Espanol, it's humilde. Como humilde, it's the adjective. The person is very humble. The person is very polite and very respectful. This person is very humble. Pronunciation, humble. We have a few expressions in relation to humble. In English, we can say to eat humble pie, and this means that you need to accept that your performance was not good, or you need to accept that you are not fantastic. So you must eat humble pie, and that you made a mistake, that you made an error, and you must accept your responsibility and accept that you were incorrect. So you must eat humble pie. Many, many examples. For instance, in sport, if I predict this person will win the competition, and finally this person is very low, I need to eat humble pie and accept my prediction was incorrect, more or less. The noun is humility. Excuse me. The adjective is humble and the noun is humility, and it is a verb as well, to humble somebody. Okay. Pronunciation of the next word is difficult. Well, colonial, so it's related to a colony, and the verb is to colonize, and a colony is the noun and colonial is the adjective. So in this situation, it was a colonial town, Salvador. Became is an irregular verb. The original verb is to become, and the past simple in the irregular form is became. Become, became, become, I think. But basically the past simple is irregular. Become, became. The difference between the country and the nationality is very, very important as well. This might seem very, very simple depending on the person, but a lot of people make the error between Ireland, Irish, England, English, Spain, Spanish, Portugal, Portuguese, Brazil, Brazilian. The difference between the nation and the nationality is very important in English. And in this situation, it's Portuguese, and that is the nationality. And that's it. Here we have the preposition in, and it's the reason. So in is for the year, on is for the peninsula, and in is for the state, because it's a boundary, it's a limit, it's a boundary. So you're in the perimeter, you're in the state. Okay, and that's the significance, that's the reason we use the preposition in. So this is the first location, Salvador in Bahia, and here you can see a picture of Salvador. Obviously it looks very colorful, the buildings look very old and beautiful, and it looks very nice to visit. So these are the streets of Salvador, are lined with colorful colonial architecture. So the pronunciation of the CH in this case is like a K, architecture. And frequently in English the CH is very important for the different sounds. For example, head ache. An ache is a pain, and the pronunciation of the CH is like a K. So we need to be very careful with this as well. Next, we continue with a little more. And again, if you have a question, if you have a comment, please put your question in the Facebook chat and I continue. The buildings, pastel coloured, with facades adorned with intricately carved stucco and windows flanked by shutters, have been exquisitely and painstakingly preserved. They date to the moment in time where European, African, and indigenous cultures of the 16th century converged. It's a very interesting paragraph. There is a large Afro-Brazilian community, and colourful, flamboyant festivals are a frequent sight, the pulsating rhythms of drums echoing through the winding cobbled streets. So wonderful vocabulary, really, really valuable vocabulary, and I hope I can explain the majority of this key vocabulary here. So pastel, I don't know. Pastel is a type of word related to colour. Maybe it's describing the colour as like a cream. I'm not sure, like a substance. So pastel, I don't know. That's not a good start, but I think it's definitely related to colours. But here we have the pronunciation in English. We say facade. Obviously, I think it's originally maybe a Latin, French, Italian, Spanish type of word. But in English, we pronounce this word a facade. And it's possible for a person. If a person has a facade, this is the appearance of the person. You think the person is very sad because they have a sad facade, like a sad face, and your impression, you think they're very sad, but maybe behind the facade, they're not sad. So that's just a little example of the word facade. The next word is difficult as well. The verb is to adorn, and this means similar to wear. It's more advanced, it's definitely more proficient English. To adorn means to wear. But it's more typical for decoration in the house, in the wall, on the wall, in the room. The wall is adorned by a mirror, by a painting. It's more typical for a house, and in this situation it's a building, and so it's probably more appropriate for a building, but it is possible for a person to adorn a jacket. So just be careful with that word. Intricate is the adjective. If something is very intricate, pronunciation, something's very intricate, very detailed, very minute, very small, very intricate, and in this situation it's the ly that therefore means it's the adjective. Adverb. Ly is the adverb, so intricate is the adjective, and intricately, sorry for my pronunciation, is the adverb. So it's connected to the verb to carve. And carve is very, very important, advanced English verb. It's like to cut. It's incredibly common and very, very important. The verb to carve is to cut. It's typical with wood. When you have wood and you carve the wood, for example, you put a design in the wood, so you need strong power to carve the wood. An expression we have in English is to carve out a career. And this means you need to work very hard to make a career for yourself. So you need to force, you need to put pressure to force and to make the career and the money and the salary and the income for yourself. So you need to carve out a career. Very, very good quality English. And finally, the other typical example is in the restaurant in Ireland. We have a carvery. And a carvery, not Calvary, sorry, carvery is when you go to a bar, you go to a restaurant or a pub, and you order the food from the chef, and the chef has the food prepared in front of him. And basically the chef cuts the chicken, cuts the ham, cuts the meat, and gives you the chicken on the plate. So the food is prepared, the big food, the big chicken, the big meat is prepared, and the chef cuts, next person. That is a carvery. So it's related to the verb to cut, really. To carve up means to divide or to separate. So typically in politics as well, or in history, when a country is carved up, this means a country is separated in terms of different provinces, different regions, and people become part of different areas. So that's to carve up. Basically, it's related to food as well. So if you have a cake, you carve up the cake, you separate and you divide the cake into different portions for different people. Next, we have a more important word as well, the verb to flank. It's very, very difficult to explain, but it is very good quality. The best example is in the military. The military have the tank on the ground. The military have the tank, and the tank is flanked by aeroplanes. So on the flank is on the side. In sports, you have the central player, the central midfielder, the central defender, and on the flank is the winger, number 7 and number 11. So on the flank is on the side or on the wing. So in this situation, the windows are flanked by the shutter, and the shutter is the object to shut the window, like how do you say in English we say the blind. In English we pull the blinds, but in other countries you have a different word for this object, to close the window to protect from the heat. So that's basically a shutter as well. In the camera, you have a shutter. The shutter closes the lens. So in this situation, it's the window protected, flanked on the side. You have the shutters. Very bad explanation. Exquisite means very detailed and amazing as well. If something is exquisite, it's very detailed and amazing and beautiful with a detail. For example, the food is exquisite. It means incredible. And here again, it's the adverb exquisitely, amazingly, fantastically preserved with a lot of detail, a lot of attention. But the next word is very important as well. Painstaking means it requires a lot of effort. It takes a lot of pain because it requires a lot of concentration. So learning English perfectly is very painstakingly. It takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of pain. So it's really good quality. And again, it's the adverb here. Very important. Okay, they date to, they go to, in terms of the time, the moment in time where European indigenous cultures of the 16th century converged. So the verb to converge is to come together, to converge. Very good quality. And of course, it's the past simple in this situation, converged. Next, there is a large Afro-Brazilian, so a mix of the word Afro and Brazilian, community and colourful, flamboyant. Flamboyant is an excellent adjective to explain something or somebody who's very exotic and very colourful and very outgoing and very, I don't know how you say, but a flamboyant festival means people are dancing, people are extroverted, people are wearing a lot of colours, and it's very incredible. It's exotic. So I don't think exotic and Ireland are possible to combine. I don't think it's possible to say Ireland is exotic, maybe for other people, but exotic is maybe, I don't know, it depends on your location, I suppose. So again, a frequent sight. A sight is a location or something you see. It's a sight. And in English, we have a very advanced expression, a sight to behold. And this means it's very valuable, it's something amazing, something surprising. You don't normally see this, it's unexpected, it's a sight to behold. Pulsating. So pulse is related to your blood and your heart. It's the pulse, boom, boom, like the beat. And therefore, if your pulse is very high, boom, 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 you're very excited. So therefore, the adjective pulsating is very similar to exciting. And it would be a synonym for exciting. So the rhythm of the drum, boom, 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 is pulsating. It's very good vocabulary. The football match was pulsating. It was very exciting. Echo. What is an echo? An echo is basically when you talk or you shout and your voice travels, but your voice returns. So echo, echo, it's a very famous word. I think in Spanish in particular, it's the same pronunciation, but that is an echo. It is a verb to echo which is the action for the voice or the sound to move. Cobbled. Okay, sorry, winding and cobbled streets. So the substantive is the for the streets, but the vocabulary and the adjectives here are winding and cobbled. So this first word is very important because for the weather, we have a similar word with the same spelling for the weather, but we pronounce it differently. We say wind. Okay, if you have wind, it's for the weather. But this word is different. This is the verb to wind. And it's typical with your watch. See this little button? You wind your watch, or the machine, you wind the machine. And if the road is winding, it means it moves in this direction. And finally, the verb to cobble means to put together because it originates from the street. When you have the street with the stones and the stones are cobbled together, that means they're assembled together or put together. So the street, if it's cobbled, it has the old stones. If you have been to Ireland, if you have been to Dublin, if you have been to Temple Bar, the street, the ground in Temple Bar is cobblestones. So it's a type of stone that you combine to make the old streets. In fact, it is possible creatively to use the verb to cobble together, and this means to combine a lot of things together. If you cobble together, you put together a lot of different things. So it's very important and very interesting to cobble together. So that's excellent vocabulary, and I'm very happy to teach you a lot of this vocabulary. I think it's very good quality, and I hope you're learning a little. Yes, it's time consuming. I think it requires a lot of your energy and concentration, and maybe you don't have time because you're working, you're studying, or whatever, or maybe you're enjoying the sun. But I think it's a good lesson to show you a lot of important vocabulary. So just to finish, I will show you the other locations. So the first one is Salvador. The second one is Bahia de Porcos, Fernando de Noronha, Bahia dos Porcos, Fernando de Noronha. And this is a picture of the Dois Irmãos. Irmão, I think, is a brother or sister, Irmãos. Rock formation presides over one of Brazil's most spectacular beaches, but it's difficult to go to. Okay. Next, we have the Chapada dos Veadeiros National Park. I think we spoke about this already a little. And this is a picture of visitors on a rock formation near the Saltos do Rio Preto waterfall in Chapada dos Veadeiros. And we continue. Ilha de Marajó. Ilha de Marajó. I think it's an island, the Marajó. And this is Ilha de Marajó has the feel of an uninhabited island, but the large island in the Amazon River actually is home to a big community, a sizable community. And then I think the third or fourth is Emas National Park. And here's a pampas deer, one of the many animals that live in the Emas National Park. And the next one, oh, maybe that's everything. Yeah, sorry, that's everything. Okay, so that's an interesting article from CNN about 5 places that you should maybe consider to learn or to think or to travel to if you can in Brazil. So that's everything for today's lesson. Again, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching live. And thank you for watching recorded as well. Please like the video. Please share the video with any of your friends who are learning English. I hope you can understand me because today I'm speaking very quickly, but that's good. The subtitles are available. And that's it. Remember, my schedule and my timetable is here. So if you want to follow any of my lessons, I have 18 lessons this week, very different topics, and you're very welcome to join any of these lessons that you wish for free. My project is to give English lessons for free, to give English advice, vocabulary, expressions to the public completely for free on Facebook Live since the pandemic. I have continued to do this. How I will make money, I don't know yet, but that's okay. If you want to support me, if you want to make a donation or a subscription or a contribution, you can use my bank details here and make a donation, or alternatively you can use PayPal, and the information for the PayPal subscription is in my Facebook post, so you can support me if you wish that way. If you are a company, if you are a business and you want to advertise during this lesson, I can put your business information here and speak about your company if you want to sponsor me or if you want to finance my project as well. That would be a great support for me, and I can promote your business in return. Contact. All the social media channels are here: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, and WhatsApp. And you're very welcome to join and contact me on any of the social media channels as well. Great, that's it. That's everything. Thank you very much for today. As I said, the lesson was originally planned to be complete através de Português, but I did not have time because it takes me 3 hours to prepare my script in Portuguese, and it's too much time. So I decided since last week to maybe just focus on a topic from Brazil and to try and teach in English very quickly, very advanced, very proficient, some of the key vocabulary from an article in English. Wow, I'm speaking a lot today. Great, so thank you so much. Please leave your comment, leave your question. Thank you for watching. I hope that you have a good day, and my next lesson is very soon in relation to correcting writing in English. Any questions, please contact me, and thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you enjoy the content. Thank you and have a great day, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.